Can you really buy a house with $0 down? Or is that just internet hype? The answer might surprise you. The short answer is yes, you can buy a house with $0 down. However, there are some nuances to it, and it might not be for everybody. My name is Dalton Lafreniere. I'm a loan officer here in Southern Arizona, and I'm gonna break down some of the key details that go into buying a house with $0 down. At its core, there are 3 different loan options that allow you to come to closing with $0. One is VA, that is for active duty military and veterans, as well as some National Guardsmen and other cases if you qualify for a VA. There's USDA financing, which applies to certain geographical restrictions that are rural areas. And 3, an honorable mention, there are down payment assistance programs that pair with a regular home loan that will cover your down payment for you. These aren't for everyone, and certain credit and income restrictions may apply. And just know this, free money is not always free. So here's the catch. There are still different expenses that apply to buying a home that can kind of negate the $0 down idea. This is closing costs, which you may be able to negotiate with the seller, typically in a buyer's market, which we're in right now actually. There's appraisal costs, which typically you do have to pay out of pocket, and that's usually during the process, not at closing. And there are inspections on the home, which you almost always have to pay unless you're not doing an inspection. So keep in mind, $0 down or 0% down doesn't necessarily mean $0 altogether. You're making the biggest purchase of your life, so having absolutely no skin in the game is next to impossible. I'll give you a real life example. I do a lot of down payment assistance type of loans because that is a lot of the type of client I serve. However, you have to create realistic expectations. You still have to pay for your appraisal. You still have inspections that are not necessarily a lender's cost, but it's part of doing business. And you have earnest money. Earnest money is a deposit that you can get refunded at closing, but you do typically have to have that money up front. Last month, I closed a down payment assistance loan where the clients did have to come in with nothing, and they got most of their earnest money refunded. However, they did still have to pay for their appraisal, which also got refunded at closing. But these are some expenses that occur, and they still had to pay for an inspection. So if you're looking into buying a house, don't let a lender tell you you'll have to come in with nothing or you'll have no expenses whatsoever. Reach out to someone that is experienced and will give you the actual transparent facts. The fact of the matter is, you're making the biggest investment of your life. So there are certain expenses that you will have to cover. However, if you do not have a ton of capital and you need down payment assistance, I'm very experienced with it, as well as USDA and VA, which are all different types of programs that can get your down payment covered or have no down payment at all. But work with someone that's experienced that will explain all this to you, and work with a real estate agent that will help negotiate your closing costs to be paid by the seller. So, the long and short of it, yes, you can buy a home with $0 down, but there are nuances to it. If you have any questions at all, or you're interested in purchasing your first home in the next year, reach out to me or leave a comment down below. I will gladly give you all the information that you need.